The last Saturday in October always means one thing in Jacksonville, Florida, Georgia. Along the banks of the St. Johns River, both fan bases convene for one of the most intense battles in all of college football. Led by Mark Richt, the Dogs reignited the rivalry in 2007. Then Urban Meyer's Gators snapped back 1 year later.
Touchdown! Oh my beautiful play!
In 2010, a rare instance of a coach taunting a player with the player prevailing. 2 years later, a fumble was forced and tears were shed. Fast forward a decade, and both programs are in much different spots. Georgia, fresh off its first national championship in 41 years, looking for another.
You look at what you've done well, what you've done poorly, and how can we do it better? And we sit down as coaches and say, all right, what do we need to do to win the next 5 games, 6 games, and we target that area.
Florida is on its 5th head coach in 12 years, searching for stability and success. And Billy Napier is fully aware of the opportunity that lies ahead.
Defending national champs and the #1 team in the country presents a great opportunity, and certainly we look forward to it.
These two programs hate each other so much, they can't even agree on how many times they've played. But one thing is for certain, the stadium in Jacksonville will be split down the middle with red and black on one side and orange and blue on the other. And this gathering won't be friendly. It's a rivalry that represents what we love about college football, and we've got a front row seat on CBS.
Throw the records out the window because anything can happen at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Florida, Georgia, Georgia, Florida, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the best rivalries out there, and the Gators trying to play spoiler in the Dogs' defense of the national title. Let's bring in the guys who know this rivalry better than anyone else, Jacob Rudner and Rusty Mansell. Guys, you always hear the coaches and players talking about how exciting it is to cross the St. Johns River, see that Jacksonville skyline, and then walk into the split stadium. But for as pretty as those scenics are, the disdain between these programs and fan bases can get pretty ugly. Rusty, what does this edition of the rivalry mean for these teams?
I think it's one of those games you have to experience. You have to walk in that stadium and walk out either a winner or loser to kind of understand the rivalry here. But I'll tell you this, I've said it all week. I think this is Florida's Super Bowl this season. They're 1-3 in the SEC. Georgia's the #1 ranked team in the country, defending national champions. They're going to come into this game this week, and they got 2 transfers from the University of Georgia, Jalen Kimber and Britton Cox. Both players play on the defensive side of the ball. I think this Saturday in Jacksonville, you're going to have a very, very highly motivated Florida Gators team coming into this party.
Like Rusty said, I just think that this is a huge opportunity for Florida to prove itself against a great team. Georgia, obviously #1 going into the contest. No reason for Florida fans and for the players not to get up for this contest and try and win it. But more so, like Billy Napier said earlier this week, I actually think it could be a good measuring stick for Florida. Formidable opponent. It's going to challenge everything that Florida's been able to do so far this season. So a really good chance to see where Florida has improved versus where it still needs to do some work, be that on the defensive side or offensively. So as much as this is a game for Florida's fans and for its players to be motivated to try and steal a win from the best team in the country, I think it's also a great opportunity for the players to stay focused, stay calm, and try and prove that they've improved across the board.
Well, if this is Florida's Super Bowl, they're going to need their defense to show up. It leaves much to be desired, to say the least, especially on 3rd down. And that's a problem against these Bulldogs, who have no trouble moving the ball, scoring on 42 of their 43 trips to the red zone. Jacob, how did the Gators slow them down?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I think for this Florida team, they're really going to have to focus on getting off the field on 3rd down. They're the worst team in the country in 3rd down defense, allowing opposing teams to convert over 54% of the time. It's not going to work against a team like Florida. You have to be able to shut them down and get off the field. There have been moments for this Florida defense, though. In the first game of the season, a game-saving interception. There have been other moments throughout the year where Florida has looked stout on that side of the ball, but the mistakes have been costly. They've given up chunk plays. They've given up massive touchdowns on 3rd down, several over 50 yards. It can't happen in this game. If they want to keep it together, they're going to have to keep it close scoring and get off the field.
For Georgia, it gets a fast start. I mean, the last time the Florida defense was on the field, they gave up 28 first downs to LSU, over 538 yards total offense. Their secondary has been pretty bad this year. for most part of it consistently. Georgia's got to take shots. Stetson Bennett loves to throw the deep ball. They're going to have people. Arian Smith's a guy that's finally healthy. He might be the fastest player in the SEC, 10, 200 meters. Brock Bowers is a creative mismatch. They use him in bunt sets, everything. Darnell Washington's coming on. So Georgia has those guys. I don't think that A.D. Mitchell's going to play, so that hurts you a little bit. But for Georgia, it's a fast start. Get on Florida early, because the last time they came out on the field against LSU, it was an ugly performance by the Gators defense.
So the Florida offense goes where Anthony Richardson goes. And the question every week is, which AR is going to show up? Statistically, he's much better in the first half of games than he is in the second. So opponents making adjustments quickly in game. Rusty, how will the Georgia defense tie him down?
Well, a couple things. You look at the Utah tape, and I don't care how long ago that was, it scares you to death, some of the things he did in that game against a really good defense. Here's what Georgia's got to do with him. They got to keep him on point. They cannot let him get outside the pocket where he can throw off platform, where he can use his legs. He is a big body dude in person, athletic, can hurt you there, also run. But I think Georgia has to keep him on the spot where they know he is, come after him, pressure him, and make him make decisions like he did last year before the half, where he threw into covers and Kobe Dean picked six to him. And I think that Georgia, with 2 weeks off, they need to create more pressures. Very interested to see how much they bring against Richardson. Will they sit back and make him be patient, or will they come after him? In my opinion, Georgia's going to come after Anthony Richardson on Saturday.
I think it's as much on Anthony Richardson as it is on Florida's coaches to be offensively successful in this game. We've seen Anthony Richardson be extremely successful on play action. He's the best play action quarterback in the country coming into this game, according to PFF. That's not going to change, but Florida actually has to go to the play action in order to allow their quarterback to shine. He also has been phenomenal on the ground. Rusty mentions his performance against Utah, where he was able to rush for over 150 yards in that game. Over 100 yards in that game, 3 rushing touchdowns. If he can open things up with his legs and actually be deceptive by bringing in the play action at a normal rate throughout this game, I think that there is a chance Florida can succeed against a very powerful defense. But again, that comes down to the play calling. That comes down to how Billy Napier is willing to use his star quarterback and whether or not he's going to allow him to open things up on the ground. If not, I think it could be a really tough day for the Florida offense.
And hey, it would be a huge image booster for Napier as well in his first season if he can get things going against the Dogs. All right, good stuff, guys. Jacob and Rusty, thanks for your time. And remember, for the best coverage on these teams, keep an eye on Swamp 24/7 and Dogs 24/7 all season long.